Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome back to Houselights, the podcast that never dies. It just gets rebooted with a younger cast, a new glow filter, and a surprise legacy cameo. I'm your co-host, Tristan Riddell, and if I get killed off in the opening scene, just know I left behind a monologue, a flash drive, and a 3-part TikTok series exposing the killer's Letterboxd account. Now joining me, from the commentary track he probably recorded before the reboot was even greenlit, is our very own grizzled franchise survivor, still skeptical, still standing, John Mills. And of course, we couldn't enter the digital age without a content creator in our midst. He's got the live stream rolling, the hashtags prepped, and the Wi-Fi password memorized. It's Darren Moser. Tonight, we're dissecting Scream 4, the meta sequel reboot remake remix that asks, what if millennials stabbed you in HD? It's the movie that brought Wes Craven back one last time, rebooted the rules, and introduced a whole new batch of suspects who all somehow look like they walked off the CW a lot. So plug in your ring light, refresh your follower count, and remember, don't trust anyone under 25 with a film degree. And I now hand it off to our host of the night, John Mills.
I would say never trust anyone under the age of 25 and end the sentence there. And I am excited to have this discussion because up to this point, and we'll find out whether this turns around or not, Scream has played out sort of the way that most franchises do that aren't, pre-planned story arcs like Lord of the Rings or something like that, where there's a law of diminishing returns, where there's only so many times you can cover the same topic before it starts to get stale and you're just playing to the same audience over and over again. Now, Tristan, as you mentioned, is the whole reason we're here is because Wes Craven came out of the shadows one last time to direct this Scream 4. So as we alluded to previously, in previous shows, Wes Craven becomes with Scream the very type of horror film director that he was not before Scream. So it's a weird meta thing in and of itself. And the big question with all of this stuff, and Darren, I'll throw this first question off to you. Without giving away what you thought of everything overall, you come here to Scream 4. This is your 4th go around on Scream with Wes Craven. You've seen Nightmare on Elm Street and New Nightmare. Do you see growth from Craven as a director? Do you see somebody who has grown or refined himself in a substantial way since we started this series?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, this was my first time watching Scree 4M. And, man, we just love inserting those numbers into the middle of titles.
We sure do.
But no, I definitely see the growth of Wes Craven. It would almost be whiplash to go back to 84 and Nightmare on Elm Street and the low budget, like cheesy effects, just the grease on the lens to hide all the sins and all of that. But no, you're jumping from 2000 to 2011, which that's when, something happened. You're looking at your list and you're like, oh, 96, 97, 2000, 2011. Oh, okay. The third one was not good because we stopped making them for 11 years. But yes, I definitely was willing to give Wes Craven another chance. And I think, that he took that chance and made the most of it.
Now, Tristan, do you agree with that? Do you agree that Scream 3 was enough of a diminished return that they just didn't want to make a Scream 4? Or do you think that it just fell victim to the idea of we make trilogies in this town and that was number 3 and we're done?
I think I might disagree with Darren. I mean, who knows? Because I think Scream 3 did make money. So it had to have been the creatives. Again, this is all guesswork. This is complete guesswork. But it had to have been the creatives who said, this is the story that we told. I do know that they originally envisioned Scream to be a sequel. Like once they actually got the third one greenlit, they're like, okay, this is good. Like this is the story we're going to tell. Like this, and you feel that finality when you watch Scream 3. You really do. Like you see, like there's no possible way that Ghostface could that a fourth time Ghostface could be connected to Maureen Prescott. Like, there's just no way. Like, Maureen Prescott was the genesis of everything, and they wrapped it up in a bow in 3, and that's it. That's the story. And then we end with a lot of, you know, a lot of imagery of Sydney letting go. You know, she opens up the gate to her house. The door to her house opens up wide, and she doesn't immediately go to shut it. She's fine. She's footloose and fancy free.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it probably, you know, wasn't until until years later, you know, it's a decade later that they even think of, that they get the green light to do it. And so my assumption is that Kevin Williamson or whomever was just like, I have an idea. Like reboots are really popular right now, and they were, like, in that era, like in that time around the late 2000s and early 2010s, reboots were incredibly popular. You know, it's constant today, but they were just really ramping up back then. And so I'm sure somebody had the idea, whether it was the Weinsteins, Dimension, or Williamson himself, said, like, you know, is it now time to reboot Scream, but yet make it a meta reboot? And so that's kind of was my idea behind it when I watched it. I was like, that's probably what happened, in my opinion.
So, Darren, playing off of that, there are elements to this story that seem to have been elements that Williamson brings up from what he wanted Scream 3 to be. We have a film club that spurs the imitation. Do you think that this is just him taking advantage of that reboot thing to say, okay, we can make the real Scream 3 that I wanted to make back then that I couldn't be involved with? Do you think that this serves as a sort of, I mean, yes, it's a reboot. Yes, it's all of those things that Tristan is saying. But do you think that Williamson wanted to scratch that itch specifically because it was in any way sitting in his subconscious that whole time that he couldn't do the Scream 3 that he wanted to do?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, another way to view the gap of between Scream movies is, yeah, like you said, coming up with that idea and fleshing it out. I'm sure we've seen enough reboots happen that they don't really happen unless, one, you think you're going to make money, but two, you have to have a good enough idea to not only get your director back, but get the cast back. Because they're not, I mean, you know, yeah, there's the diminishing returns and, oh, hey, I can make some money. But I think if I'd seen this script, you know, I would have been like, oh, okay, this is one, you have a finished script, you know, which we learned last week is important to have the beginning. But yeah, I could totally see from what this story was. I mean, we'll get to the good and the bad, but from what the story is, I mean, we kind of almost talked about it last week where we're like, oh, what if they had done this? And that's basically what they did in Scream 4. They went back to the hometown. They basically kind of revisited a lot of the first one, you know, and we're kind of also passing the torch a bit to another generation with the cousin. So yeah, I think on paper, this has everything going for it. And we'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about if that comes to fruition, but yeah, I think this was enough to get the production back in the seats. Would it get the audience back? We'll see about that.
So queuing off of that, Tristan, you know, and talking about the different ideas that are there were a couple of people brought in to do rewrites while the film was shooting. Reportedly, Williamson wasn't terribly thrilled with it, but one of the people that came back was Aaron Kruger, who wrote Scream 3, and he came in to do some rewrites during the production, which I suppose we could argue would have made Williamson upset considering what Kruger did with 3 and everything. But there was another name thrown in there, Paul Harris Boardman. And additionally, on top of all of the rewrites is the fact that none of the actors were given the script past page 75, even though it was a 140-page script. To you as a viewer, does it show that basically people on set were kept in the dark and that the script was redone, or does this feel like a cohesive whole from beginning to finish?
I think the thing with me was, I don't know if it felt cohesive. It did feel like Williamson. It really did. Like in 3, you can really tell the lack of Williamson. I mean, just a real tonal shift. And in this one, it feels like a return to form. Now, does that make it good? I'm not saying it does, but it definitely feels like the first two, more like the first two than the third one did.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether Williamson was rewritten or tweaked or glossed over, I don't know. Like Williamson has very much talked about how annoyed he was with what Kruger did. And, like there's a lot of talks about him butting heads with the Weinsteins. And it's too bad, because I would have liked to have seen what Scream 4 would have looked like if it was just pure Williamson. But the thing that really stuck out to me, not so much that it was cohesive or incoherent, was so much it was forgettable. And to me, I say that purposefully. I don't say that as a knock. I say that as an actuality. Last week, I told you guys I had only seen this movie once. I looked at my letterbox. I've seen it 3 times.
Wow.
And I keep forgetting that I've watched it. And as I'm watching it with my wife in preparation for this podcast, I'm like, wait, we've seen this more than once. She's like, I think so. And we're not normally like that. Like, there's a lot of people in our lives who have no idea, that instantly forget what they've watched. We always remember. But to continually and multiple times forget that we've seen this movie more than once is very weird. And I think it maybe it is because of a lack of cohesion, or because we just don't care about the characters other than the legacy characters.
Okay. So you're looking at it from the perspective of, this is your 4th time seeing it. You thought it was your 2nd. And so there's a lack of, it's not a sticky movie to you. It's a movie that comes and goes. There's nothing that's impactful about this. And that's, I think, important for the audience to remember how impactful Scream and Scream 2 were to you. For you to come away with not even remembering this says something.
Yeah, and also, like, Scream 3, in all its faults, was very memorable. I remember every single moment of that. I remember everything about the movie. Even though I was more disappointed with this most recent rewatch than I have been before with Scream 3, I at least remember what happened. Like, it's one of those things where, like, you tried something different and it didn't work out, but at least you tried. With Scream 4, it felt like, and don't take this the wrong way, it felt like Force Awakens, where it's very similar to the original on purpose, and you can either like that, you can hate that, but I don't know what point I'm making, but that's what it made me think.
I want to pick at that, because I mean, it's inevitable at this point. Anytime you say the word reboot, Force Awakens pops in your brain. It doesn't matter that it didn't invent the subgenre. It doesn't matter that we had things like reimagining as the word when Planet of the Apes came around with Tim Burton, which is also memorable because of how terrible it is. But Darren, I want to pick at this point that Tristan is talking about. Do you think that this is a movie that has that limited appeal because of how it's structured? Do you think that this can only play to a subset of the original audience? Or do you view this as the way a reboot is intended to, which is to take the original material and dress it up a little bit better to refresh the IP for a new generation?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, because, obviously it'd be great if, Scream fans bring their non-Scream fan friends in 2011 to watch the movie, and then their friends like, oh, hey, I want to watch the others. Like, that's cool. That's like your best outcome, like interest in the franchise growing. But yeah, the question is there enough goodwill in the populace to attract, first time viewers who aren't Scream fans and don't have friends that are Scream fans, and they're just like, oh yeah, that looks fine, like I'll go watch that. I think this came out in the proper Halloween time. No, April, so who knows. But but yeah, overall I felt that this movie did a lot right in going back to the original, in kind of giving it a Force Awakens, as Tristan says, feel. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and I personally prefer it to the million character all over the map kind of plot we got in 3. And yes, while that is memorable, sometimes it's not memorable in a good way. But But as far as like diminishing returns, it was interesting you mentioned that because this one made the least amount of money at all for Scream. I was looking at the budgets, and for Scream 1, you had a 15 million budget, 173 million. Boom. This thing's amazing. Scream 2, 24 million, little bit bigger budget, 172, do about the exact same. Oh, we're still cranking. Scream 4, basically double the budget, 40 million, 161. That's actually not that bad. A little bit of a dip, but that's not terrible. This also 40 million, 97 million. You dropped by like 70 mil and like halved the original.
Well, and it doesn't even make the 1989 definition of a blockbuster, which was 100 million.
Right.
That's true. That was the blockbuster mark back in 89.
Oh, you're right. The 170, that's like good money for back then. That's really good.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, inflation being what it is and everything.
Inflation, John.
Recrunch
the numbers.
In the post-Marvel era, everything's been absolutely hideously distorted, but $100 million was regarded as a blockbuster. So this doesn't make blockbuster by any money standard that you're going to throw at it.
Which 3 million more.
Right. If only. If only.
And also, one other metric is, and I feel like it's a yardstick that a lot of people throw around, is did it make a profit? And you have to double your budget at least. And so it does make a profit, but nowhere near what they were hoping.
Right.
Sure.
It makes a middling profit.
It's not a reboot of the franchise. It's a one last visit by the director is what we get.
Speaking of which, do you guys see Wes Craven in here? Where do you see Wes Craven in this?
It's interesting because I was actually going to, ask that, is that I see Craven because there are certain moments, and I know the proper term, you used it earlier, glow filter or whatever, but I prefer gauze lens because that's the term that was used when Joan Collins was on Dynasty. But I think that there's a certain dreamlike quality to a couple of the things that, whether intentionally or not, harken back to his Nightmare on Elm Street vibe that he was going for, where characters are walking alone. And I think it's something where I couldn't write a thesis on it or tell you specifically why the structure of that shot made me feel that way. But I thought there was a definite sense of Craven about it. I think that there were certain things where the shots felt that correct way in terms of the way he's communicated to us visually before, even though I think that the photography is strangely different from 2 and 3. This feels much more artistic, lack of a better term. I think that the photography in 2 and 3 feels very procedural, feels very, we're getting the shots and moving on.
I can totally agree with that.
This really feels like Craven sat down with Deming and said, all right, let's bring some of that David Lynch Lost Highway sensibility to this. Okay, let's try to make this cooler looking.
I would argue that it was influenced by Janusz Kaminski, Spielberg.
Oh, no, I was just more making a throwback to the fact that Deming, I think, worked on Lost Highway. That he sat down with Deming and he was like, okay, we did 2 and 3, and I was sort of like, just good enough is good enough. Why don't we try to be arty about this time, Peter? Let's put our heads around this.
No, I agree. As far as the Craven look, again, a lot of it, I think, has to do with the similarities, not just in plot and in structure for Scream, but there's tons of callbacks to, the boyfriend taped up outside, not that he was the boyfriend, but the guy taped up outside and you see him through the glass. I really liked the Stab Fest barn, that whole scene just felt very Scream. The whole beginning set of murders with in the house really made me think of Halloween, because in Halloween it's always like everything's happening across the street or next door of this one house, right here, whereas Scream always felt like, oh, we're out in the middle, in the boonies, we're not in the middle of town, whereas these houses with the cop in front and all of that I felt the location even more so.
I'm glad you said that. You mentioned Halloween because this is where I'll throw the gauntlet down. Is reboot wise, the big question in the horror genre is this a better reboot revisitation of the series, or is Halloween from 2018 a better reboot refresh of the series?
Well, I don't think we can make that call until we watch the actual reboot of the series, which is, I think, the 2022. Really, that's rebooting.
I think I'd have to agree with that, Darren. This is, I know it sounds like a cop-out, John.
It does. It sounds like a big cop-out, Tristan, from both of you.
But okay, so this is the meta reboot. This is the toying with it, legacy characters, like we got new rules and everything like that. This is the flirting with a reboot. This is the over the pants stuff of a reboot. But with 2022, like you're really, I think that's full-fledged.
I think you can't call it a reboot if it's the same director. It's really not. This, even if they were going for it, this
I like that.
That's tough.
This is firmly in the one last visit by the director. That's what this is. Even if they meant it to be a reboot, I consider the reboot to be the 22. That is
a great. I'm with
Darren on this one.
I'm going to cede this point to you, Mr. Moser, because that is a great way to put a reboot. Has to be another director coming in and trying to breathe new life. Which brings us back to the Force Awakens thing. That hurts, but yeah, okay, I'll give that to you. Absolutely, great point. Ceded to the senator from Dr. Sci-Fi-ville. Wow. Okay. Fair enough. So, we've talked about so much stuff. We went right into it. But Darren, I'll throw it to you first. This is my first time seeing it.
This was mine as well.
Did that opening catch you off guard in any way? Did you get a thrill? Did you have fun with that opening? Or did the opening wear on you by a certain point?
No, I liked the opening. I think, it did wear a little bit. You're not wrong. Like, I think it did it one too many times. If it had done it like twice, because I forget, was it 2 or 3 times? It was like 3 times. If they had done it twice, okay. But it's like, it's like I think there's been another movie that's had a weird opening like that. But for some reason, I keep thinking of the ending of Lord of the Rings, where you're like not sure if it's over because they keep fading to black. This is like the inverse of that. It's like, as the movie started, are we going? It was an idea.
But see, the thing is, you mistook my question. I wasn't trying to lead the witness on that because I thought the opening was delightful. I got such a kick out of the opening. I was absolutely thrilled with what they did because by the time they got to the real opening, I was sitting there having fun with it, saying, okay, so are you going to screw with me again? I don't want to invest in this. I got to see some. Yeah, she's dead, but are we really going? Like, it successfully got me in there. It got me participating with it.
I think the thing the opening did best was it kind of flushed out the really, really meta stuff out with that. Like, that was, you're breaking the fourth wall, basically. Like, you are straight up making a motion to your audience. And then here's the story. Like, you kind of get that out of the way. Not that we don't have, meta bits, but not nearly as much as that. It's like they purposely crank it too high that the rest is like, oh yeah, this is normal. So I will say they did that part well, that aspect.
Tristan, I suspect you agree with Darren's original assessment here that they did it one too many times.
I feel it is one of those things where if they did it one less, I'd be like, okay, that's cute, that's cool, like I dig that. But the last time you're like, okay, all right, okay.
I wasn't like that at all.
It was either like do one less or one more, like one more where because it's the whole like comedy comes in threes thing, and so at 3,
I get what you're saying.
It's like when John Cleese is running towards the castle in Monty Python. You have to do it the right number of times or it's not funny. You do it too few, and you don't get the joke. You do too many, and you're like, okay, I'm done with this.
See,
it's like the dream
within
a
went for the
dream.
gag too much.
Yeah, like it's a dream within a dream. Like a dream within a dream, that's catchy, that's fun. A dream within a dream within a dream, go screw yourself. Okay.
What about a dream within a dream within a dream, including a flashback? Because that's basically,
okay.
Let's go back to Lawnmower Dog and we'll figure all that out.
John, I have a question for you. You usually ask me this question, but I'm going to ask you this question. So Peter Lucier was the editor for 1, 2, and 3. And then we got McNulty for 4. Do you notice a difference? They both have worked in horror, but Lucier has worked more in horror. But McNulty has directed horror. Do you feel like there's a jarring difference? Do you notice it at all? Is there anything that stands out to you?
I don't see a jarring difference, but I did notice I noticed a better pacing to the cuts in 4, at least from 3. I mean, 3 is the most recent. 2 is a clone of the first one, so whatever. And I think that getting the new blood in is good here. I think that it invigorates. I get a sense, my sense at the end of 4 is that Craven came in and he said, you know what? I get a little more swagger this time. I did those first 3. I'm coming back for this, guys, and I get to call a few shots here. I'm going to lean into what I know works. And I think that he finds an editor that understands what he's asking for very well. That's the sense that I get. Because
I personally think this is very well edited.
Do you know what a relief that is? Because I feel so validated right now because I always get nervous when we talk about editing. So
the pacing is great. The pacing is really great in this movie. It's regardless of your enjoyment level of the story, the pacing is. I don't feel like there's ever a chance to get bored because you move even on a micro level and on a macro level. They give you a healthy amount of action, exposition, and dialogue. Moving the story along, and you don't feel like you're really wasting any time. So that, and also McNulty, the right after Scream 4, he edited The Master,
which I've never seen, but I've heard good things about.
People are kind of split down the middle about it, but it's beautifully edited, and beautifully shot, and everything like that.
It's almost hard to pick at the individual roles because I really feel in this movie everybody is doing their job. Really, like the editor, the cinematographer, like there's tons of night shots. I can totally tell what's going on.
I love when you bring that up, Darren. I really do, because when I watch it and I actually can see what's going on at nighttime, I was like, Darren must be pleased.
I mean, we're in like a car park. I can totally see what's going on. We're at night, or we can even see
my wife even mentioned it almost as a negative, where she's like, my gosh, is it like 3 full moons right now?
Oh, okay. No. But
point to Mrs. Riddell on that one. Yes.
Okay, maybe. But yeah, the cinematography, the editing, again, I go back to my classic talking points of I know where the characters are. I know where her house and her neighbor's house are. The looking through the window, I know the sense of the scene. Even though they're running around that house a ton, I can tell like, oh, her room's the one on the left, and you got to go upstairs and all of that. Like that makes
the house
sense.
On the left.
Yes, only on the left.
Curious,
but it works, and it's not that that's what makes a good movie, but it helps. It helps a lot when your story, there's not too many characters. I mean, there's a lot of people, but it's not, who's this person? Why everyone is on screen for a reason, which is really nice.
To speak to the lighting thing, though, I think that with a horror movie, especially, where what you're talking about helps. And I know we've made it sort of a joke. It was like, oh, I can see what's going. Like in this case, what really helps is the fact that you can see things, but there's like a contrasting. there's a contrast difference between the background and the foreground. I think that's what happens is there's enough of a separation between the dark background and the character in the foreground. It's not like it's lit like a TV show where everything's bright.
Yeah.
It's very much it's getting that separation, because that separation is key to understanding the action when somebody is getting chased through a house or something like that. It's like, you need to be able to tell where the hell you are for it to be scary.
Well, another point, I'm curious what you guys think, because talking about horror movies, there's like different kind of horror movies, different ways they're trying to scare you. And yeah, the darker ones, like visually darker, are usually, the monster could be in the shadows. With Ghostface, he could be around the corner. Like if you see Ghostface is there. The trick is he's there and then he's gone and you don't know where he is. So it's okay that you see everything. But with this one and Ghostface, did this feel like a 2011 movie? Like for me, visually, the jump from 2000, like the jump of 11 years, I felt it. Like from the very beginning, from the cutting, the pacing, it's like, when you're watching like a 1999 movie and you're like, oh yeah, like this thing, it just has a look to it versus like a 70s movie or a 50s movie. Like this from the get-go and the weird opening, I could tell that this was in the 10s. But was it that much for you guys, or am I just, hypercritical?
I wouldn't consider it critical or hypercritical. I would say that, you might be identifying a visual trend that I'm not really tuned into, because to me, something from the 2010s has a lot of extra color to it than this does. Like this is shot in such a way that, to my eye, this feels like something that's trying to call back to an earlier era on purpose as part of its gag.
It's visual language.
Yeah, it's trying to call back to saying, like, I look at this and I see something that evokes 70s-esque without it being set. Like, it doesn't look like a movie made in the 70s, not by any stretch. But there's and I guess it's part of that filter that it uses. There's a softness to the focus that reads to my eye as more of a 70s thing, which Tristan disagrees with. He disagrees with it very strongly.
I do. I don't see old school with this, like with the way that it's shot and the filter that it uses. It doesn't feel old school, like soft, and like the glow filter feels very mid 2000s to me. Like when Munich, or when Munich came out by Spielberg.
See, I don't see Munich in this at all, because when I think of Munich, I think a very muted color palette. Whereas with this, I don't see that muted color palette to it. I see, okay. and maybe I'm losing the forest for the trees here.
No. I think that's very valid. I think when you look at stuff like Underworld, when that came out, and like the vampire crap that was coming out during this time or right before that time, that was really muted color palette and glowy. This one doesn't have that much of a muted color palette, but people are definitely paler.
Well, I mean, the
saturation is way down. Yeah.
The niece looks like she is a vampire with the way that they light her.
Yeah. Which one's the niece? Oh, it's the pale one over there.
Yeah, it's the one that literally looks like they just gave like a targeted computer, light wash over her. Like she stands out compared to everybody else. Like bravo, because they really did a good job with that.
She is 5'2" and had blonde hair when she auditioned, and she wore flats, and Wes Craven's like, you're really small. I like you, but you're small. So we're going to put you in flats and dye your hair.
Right.
We haven't talked about the casting yet.
No, we haven't. Let's go ahead and embrace that. Let's talk about the casting. And I think the first thing that we should really embrace about the casting is that casting of Emma Roberts, because she's carrying a lot in this movie. And Darren, is she effective? Is she effective in the sense that you didn't see the ending coming? Or did you always have a suspicious eye cast toward her?
I honestly, by this point, it's number 4. I'm just letting it tell the story. I'm not trying to figure it out, because I want to let it twist and turn and see where it goes. I think if I want to find the whodunit, I'll watch it a second time and look for the clues. If they're doing it really well, then I could pick those out on the second viewing. But yeah, no, I think Emma did a great job as Jill. I think the twist is because, you know, she's in the family, but and she has her reasoning. She's not there's no reason for the Ghostface to do what they're doing. They have in this one, it's like, no, her world's been turned upside down. You know, everyone talks about you know, Sydney instead of me. So yeah, I will say though, I didn't feel like when you're saying the weight of the movies on her picture, because this is a very ensemble-y piece. Like it wasn't a new generation, as in we don't see the old generation. Like we still see the old generation a ton in this.
We do, but I saw it as weight being on her in the sense that her performance has to keep you intrigued enough in her that...
So she doesn't become background.
Right. She doesn't become background so that the reveal at the end makes sense.
I see.
I agree that she's not given the center stage the way that Neve Campbell was in the original Scream, but in a sense, she's given the Skeet Ulrich, you know, where you're supposed to be keeping an eye on her, even though, I mean, it's not a 1-to-1, obviously, because on that one, you're always keeping an eye on him because you're like, are you messing with me, or are you really telling me who the killer is, sort of thing. See, I think it's probably because I think she does such a great job that when the reveal happens, I buy it and I think back for a second and I go, oh, okay, this totally makes sense. This all lines up in my brain. And I think that without her playing the part the way she did, it doesn't work at the end.
Yeah, she doesn't carry the movie, but she does carry the Ghostface plot, which I know is kind of the same thing, but in a way it's different.
Yeah, she helps drive it in the right way. And I think if anything, the casting of, and I always mess up the pronunciation of her last name, Hayden Panettiere. Sure, did I get it right? I don't know.
Sure, who cares?
Okay. I think what's interesting is that, in a sense, feels like it's not fully on the level of, but it feels like stunt casting because it's the relatively sort of known star that's thrown up there to distract you from Emma Roberts. Like there's a sense of I'm paying attention to her because I know who she is. And so it allows the story to keep me focused over on her because of that meta level of knowing who she is. Oh, well, she's the star. And so they bring sort of like her star power to allow Emma Roberts to do her thing a little more quietly.
It's like
apparently
Courtney Cox in the first one, where like, she's the most well-known.
Yeah.
So you're drawing the eye. She's not the lead, but every time she's on screen, you're like, oh, what's happening with Gale Weathers? You know.
Yeah. Right?
I always I found it interesting when I read that Hayden almost quit the movie after the Kruger rewrites. So she was hired
I didn't know
off
that.
of she was hired off of the Williamson script. And then while she was on set, she received the Kruger rewrites and she was so pissed off about them that she threatened to quit. And it makes you wonder what was her character like initially. There had to have been more screen time with her, I guess.
But but after the rewrites, okay, like the thing is, it's like that's strange to me because if nobody had the full script, then how could she be angry about anything? She didn't know the ending. And if Kruger comes in, he must have rewritten something earlier in the script as well. And they went back and like reshot it, or, you know, because obviously things.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I doubt it was
blah.
just towards the end, but like, yeah, Kruger had to go in and polish everything, I'm sure, or what his definition of polish or the Weinstein's definition of polish. And also there was Lake Bell was going to be Judy's role, the deputy, and which I think that would have been interesting. And apparently Christina Ricci auditioned for the role.
She looks like Christina Ricci. Like
right?
Like, we need someone who's not you but looks like you. Like
yeah, I was really surprised. I was like, if Christina Ricci auditioned for this role, and then you get someone who's just like a blonde version of Christina Ricci who's less well known, okay. I'm not saying she did a bad job. I'm not saying she didn't deserve the role. I'm just saying it's kind of a weird pivot.
I mean, it could have been scheduling. It could have been. There's a million.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Lauren Graham was going to be McDonald's role. Was going to be Emma Roberts' mom, and then she dropped out after 2 weeks.
That feels like a role that really got rewritten. And I think that might
bet you that's what happened. Is that Lauren Graham was promised a certain amount of screen time, and then the rewrites happened, and she's like, "Peace."
That's so crazy to me. I'm going to fixate on something that is probably weird to fixate on. However, I think that the not reboot of Halloween that happens in 2018 takes a cue with some of the officer interaction stuff that happens in this film, and with the people in the cop car getting distracted and stuff like that. But I wanted
F. Bruce Willis.
Right? I thought Anthony Anderson and Adam Brody as the dual inheritors of the slapstick Dewey sort of thing, like the doofus deputy sort of thing. I think it works so well that it's very endearing. Like, I mean, Tristan, you're the Scream aficionado. How do you feel they brought something to the series that was worthwhile?
I do. It made me sad that they died. Like, and I think that was definitely probably the most effective death in the movie for me, just because they were so entertaining, and it was kind of, I felt like maybe they could be characters that you'd want to see again, that that they pop up later on. I don't know, like I didn't know that the new Scream, which I freaking hated this trend of naming a reboot or a reimagining or revival, whatever the hell you want to call it, because people use the terminology interchangeably now. Like, I hate it when they call, like, it's called Scream, and then of course whenever it's called Scream, you're like parentheses 2022. Like, go screw yourself. Call it something else. Give it a subtitle, like
Star Trek.
Star Trek 09. We have to say Star Trek 09.
I know.
We have to say Star Trek 09. We can't say Star Trek, into the, I almost
although
said
technically
beyond.
You could say the motion picture, which is not. So you don't technically need to say 09.
All I have to say is Halloween has 3 movies named Halloween in the series, if you count the remake. And as a lifelong Halloween fan, that is maddening, because you start talking about Halloween and you feel this odd obligation to draw a distinction. And so I totally get what you're saying, Tristan, where it's like, for the love of all that's good and holy, it's okay to call it something else to signify it's not the same damn movie. It would have been like, instead of calling it, to go back again to the easy example, instead of calling it The Force Awakens when that came out, be like, no, we're just going to call it Star Wars in the marketing.
Yeah.
Like, I would have lost my ever-loving mind. The world would have lost their ever-loving mind. It doesn't matter that the New Hope thing was added later and everything. Like, well, technically, it wasn't a New Hope. We're just going to call it Star Wars the way they did
that would make it even worse, because then people would say A New Hope and then Star Wars, and A New Hope would be 77, and Star Wars would mean Force Awakens. Oh my God, my heart hurts just thinking about it.
It would have.
John, why would you do that?
Because I like to imagine horrible things in life. It entertains me, in fact, much like the 2 police officers in Scream 4. And I think that, like Mary McDonnell, it really felt weird for her to die the way that she did, and so non-impactful on the overall story. It was just weird. It felt like it would have been easier just to write the character out, just not to have her there at all.
Yeah, like she's on vacation or something, or she's away, like kind of like what they maybe tried to do, or they thought about doing with the original Scream, where they're like, oh, like, where is he? Like, oh, he's on business, but we can't find him. I don't know. And then like, it felt weird, because like, if you're gonna have matricide, if you want it to be impactful, show it. Show her committing matricide, or don't have her die, or don't have her in there. It felt odd.
Yeah. Darren, do you agree?
Remind me, matricide is when you kill your mother?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, that's a big Scrabble word. But
it's when you tear up a mattress as just ruthlessly.
I was thinking
it's just,
yeah,
it's like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. You rip the tags off, even though it says do not remove under penalty of law.
Well, yes. No, I can see them removing it. I don't know. I don't have much to say about Mary McDonnell. I want to talk about Rory Culkin, because as soon as he showed up on screen, I was like, he looks vaguely familiar from other actors. And for some reason, I actually thought it was a different Culkin, because there was one that just won an award.
Nobody can keep him straight.
Too many Culkins. That's the name of my documentary.
But I thought he did great. He did great, and that he was right in that puzzle piece of, yes, he's the, I knew once I could see that turn coming towards the very end where
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's
where
the
he was
Stu
gonna be-
Macher.
But
Yeah.
I don't know, he just played it well. He fit, like I said, puzzle piece. He was right in that piece that he needed to be. There needs to be a second Ghostface. You have to. You can't have a Scream movie where there's only one.
Now, before we wrap up, though, is the question about, Darren, did you miss the music from Broken Arrow in this? Or do you feel that Beltrami made up for it?
You know, the piece from Air Force One that they popped right in the middle, it totally took me back. So no, music aside, I'd need to rewatch to kind of let it digest. There was nothing that really jumped out at me music wise.
No,
Yes.
this is not a real Scream film because we don't have the red right hand.
I reject the argument. I think that, no, I get what you're saying. I love that song. I think that it's entirely possible that they were just like, look, we're trying to do something a little bit different. But yeah, not having red
In the
right
reboot,
hand
it's
is
the red
unfortunate.
left hand.
Yeah.
It's not a reboot.
I call me crazy. I thought the score was actually, it's not a score that I would turn on and listen to. None of the Scream scores are. But I thought this was.
I bought the original score. When I was a kid, I bought the score of the original Scream, and I bought the soundtrack of Scream 3. No joke.
Well, I think that Beltrami does a good job of.
Did you run out of AOL CDs to use as coasters?
I freaking loved that What If Creed song. I remember I played it for my dad, and he was like, "What the hell is this?"
Now, we mentioned the box office, but as we're wrapping up, I will say that it's unfortunate that Scream 4 was nominated for a Teen Choice Award for Best Horror Movie, but lost to Paranormal Activity 2. So, gentlemen, I guess we need to have a wing of Paranormal Activity at some point to help make up for that. But here we are.
Better villain. Ghostface is a better villain.
Here we are at the end. Things are culminating. I'm dying to know, Tristan, what your final thoughts and rating are of Scree 4M.
Scream from. That's how I say it. It's just like you've had like 2 fingers of whiskey.
Now I want
and
Force
then
Awakens to be called
4
Star
beers.
7.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Go
I'm
the
on
Fast
board.
and Furious route.
I'm on board.
S10 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
SW10.
Yes.
Oh, that's going to happen.
So birds so bad.
Our grandkids are going to be watching SW12. That's going to happen.
Oh, stop.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get heat for this. Scream 4 is a better movie than Scream 3. It just is. Better cinematography, better editing, better acting, better story, but I'm giving it the same rating. I'm giving it 2.5 stars because to me, 3 stars.
It's all of your ratings.
Actually, it does.
You literally
It does.
said it's objectively better, but I'm rating it. Then why have ratings, Tristan?
Yes.
Why have ratings?
It should at least be a 3.
Because I know I want to give it a 3. I do. I want it, and maybe I will at the end of this sentence. But I want to give it a 3. But it's just so god dang forgettable. I've seen this movie 4 times, and I thought I saw it once. You know, it's just I don't give a damn about any of the characters. I don't. Trevor. Nobody ever likes anybody named Trevor, especially in a movie. And it's just, and even when Hayden was stabbed, I was like, okay. And I really liked her. You know, it's just, I don't know, man. It felt segmented. It felt like, okay, now you have the Dewey and Gail storyline. Then you have the Sydney and her publicist storyline. Then you have the high school part 1 storyline, then a high school part 2 storyline. And it didn't feel like it always meshed all the time. There was a really great set pieces that I enjoyed, and I liked the cops. They were funny, and I liked the turn at the end, but at the same time, I know why they did it. I know why they had Emma Roberts have that motivation, because we're in a fame-obsessed culture way more than it was in the previous century. I don't get it. I'd love to be wealthy, but I don't want to be famous at all. And it's maybe I'm showing my age. Maybe it shows me that I'm old, but it wasn't a bad motivation because you could see an idiot kid doing something like that. Maybe not going to the mattresses and that's actually a mattress reference, Darren, not mattress.
I was going to say, we
a,
keep coming back to mattress, and it's just throwing me off for a loop here.
That's a Godfather reference, but I could see a teenager going to the mattresses to get fame and everything like that. But to this extent, I don't know. But then again, Scream's never been really that rooted in reality. No, I'm sticking with my 2.5. It's
foolish.
Scream is a better movie.
You're talking about a 3-star movie to me right now.
Yeah, Scream 4 is a better movie than Scream 3, but I don't want to rewatch it. I'd rewatch Scream 3 before I would rewatch.
That's nonsense.
There is something to that.
I think that's why I'm giving it the same rating.
There is a piece of that in my ratings usually where I'm like, it's great, but I will never watch this movie again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what I'm saying about this. I'm just saying in general.
There are movies I've given great ratings to where I was like, oh, this is a fantastic movie. What a wonderful work of art.
Moon 44 to recalibrate your rating scale.
Ooh, that's a great point, Darren. Well
done. What
done.
did I give Moon 44?
Oh, it was 0.5 or something.
Moon 44. How could we forget you?
Total
Tristan,
side note.
You gave it a 0.5. You gave it less than 1.
I stand firm with what I'm saying.
Take the 0.5 from Moon and stick it in your Scream 4.
There you go. Knock Moon 44 down to a 0, and it's like a bank.
Is that even possible?
Right? Transfer from one account to the other.
Okay, to be fair, I am saying that Scream 4 is 4.5 Moon 44s.
True, but I would still say it's more Moon 44s
you're also
than
saying
that.
It's the same as Scream 3.
Yes. Which feels like an insult. I'm just going to put that out there.
I know.
Feels like a bit of an insult.
I'm not going to cave to your peer pressure.
You will later. We'll come back after.
Okay, yeah.
I'm presuming. Okay, so is Scream 5 called Scream-5'em? Or no, that's the one that's just Scream.
That's just
Scream.
Scream.
Scream 6.
Parentheses 2022 in parentheses.
Darren hates Roman numerals, but they brought Roman numerals back.
That's good times. Good times. So, okay. So, Darren, this is the first time for both of us, but I want to give you your shot at your final thoughts and rating here. So, take it away.
I'm going to give it a 3. It was, I almost gave it a 4, but then I couldn't remember a lot of it after we were discussing it. So I see Tristan's point in that, but I love, let's just say if I'm going as it stands, if I'm going to do a Scream rewatch, I'm going to do 1, 2, 4. I'm just going to skip 3.
Valid
3. There's no benefit in watching that. So I have to, but upon thinking about it, it doesn't have the classic, it doesn't top the original, and the original is the original, and it's hard to top its originalness. But so I'm going to give it a 3. If I was given half stars, maybe a 3.5, but I enjoyed this. I would definitely watch this again. I think it, honestly, I feel the reason it's hard to forget is because it's merging into the Scream movies. I'm watching them so close to each other. It's getting harder to tell what happened in which movie, which I don't take it against this movie. That's not a dig on it. It's just I'm watching a lot of Scream in a concentrated amount of time. I think that's one of the things that's degrading it.
That's a fantastic point, Darren. Now, let me explain to the two of you why I gave it the rating that I did. I'll build. I'm going to be a little bit of a storyteller here. I think that I was so delighted with the opening. I disagree with both of you. I don't think they did it too many times. I think they did it the right amount of times that I was disoriented when the real one was going. And then when it got really real, I was like, oh, okay. We're really pushing forward now. I was delighted by that. I thought that where they took Dewey was right. It felt good. It felt correct. And going right into where the town was at that time, I immediately felt like this was Star Trek VI's treatment of Star Trek V with Scream 3, where it was like, if you like it, you can pay attention to it. If you do not, we can kind of ignore it. And I was fine with that. I was good with that. I thought that the motivations, the characters were good. I thought the kills were good. I thought the kill of the friend next door was terrific. And I especially love the fact that Craven here at the end really embraced the idea of saying, you know what? I'm going to get real gross with this. I've held back. I'm going for broke on this death. I loved it. I was like, yes, embrace it. And he shot it well. He did it well. It was put together well. I thought the cops were delightful. I liked the turn at the end. This is the best Scream sequel, hands down. No question. I'm giving it a 4. That is the final say in it. Darren, why don't you tell us what we're covering next week? Is a little surprise for the audience.
That's right. It'll be a surprise for 5 seconds until we announce it.
Yes.
We're enjoying Scream movies so much as we have great discussions, the good, the bad, and the Ghostface. So we're going into the wing of Ghostface, covering the next 2 films in the franchise, both 2022's Scream and 2023's Scream VI, next on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.